Hello, everyone.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining our Reinvestment Workforce Committee meeting of April 16th. I will quickly call the roll. Start with myself, which I'll name as present. Kyle Abercrombie. Corey Betts.
Present.
Andrea Comer. Avery Gaddis.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Andrea Hawkins.
Present.
Michael Jefferson.
Present.
Shirley Skyers Thomas. And for Kelly Marie Valeries, we have Anthony Barrett.
Present.
And Kevin Walton. All right, I believe we have quorum, so we will get moving with the approval of our January 22nd, 2025 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second. Corey.
All right, any discussion, comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right, thank you.
One abstention. I abstain. I never received them, so.
Thank you, Councilman Jefferson. And they were linked in the agenda that was sent out last week. Under item B, there is a link to the PDF of the minutes.
Yeah, I just got them today, so.
Okay.
Problem.
All right. With that, we'll move on to item C on the agenda, the reinvestment plan update, and I will turn it over to Director McGee.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Marty, if you want to go ahead and pull up the presentation. And again, good afternoon, everyone. So glad to see you. And again, as always, thank you so much for the continued support here at the Social Equity Council, and also your volunteer time, really helping us to remain in line with our mission and vision for the Social Equity Council. Next slide. As always, for the broader community that view these videos that live on our YouTube page, it is important that you all know our mission is to continue to support and promote equitable economic prosperity by supporting social equity entrepreneurs and reinvesting in communities most impacted by the war on drugs. And lastly, our vision is to see these communities thrive and become prosperous. Next slide. All right, so similar to last month, but back in January, I shared one of the decks, one of the slides within the strategic plan. I always want our council members and also the broader community to know that all of our work is driven in part by our 3-year strategic plan, of which you see before you. I am so pleased to report that we are on par with accomplishing a lot of the key activities that you see described on this document. And for your edification, on the right of the document, you'll see our team needs, estimations in terms of, our deadlines and where we should be, and we are on par. So we don't have to spend too much time on this document. Next slide. All right, so since our last meeting, as already indicated in January, the staff and I have been diligently working to align all of our programs within the strategic committee on the core of the SEC community reinvestment and educational and workforce development efforts. As already said, my updates will include 2 sections, one for reinvestment and the other for workforce development. So while we are eagerly excited to support, mission-focused and data-driven community-based organizations, we continue to engage various stakeholders For example, we've met with the Institute for Municipal and Regional Policy, the Tao Foundation, to name a couple who continue to serve as thought partners in this work. The crux of my presentation or update to our committee members, as well as our chair, is to provide you an update on the Revitalize and Reimagine program, better known as R2. Depending on the staff person, they may say R squared, but nonetheless, Revitalize, Reimagine. So the council is committed to its mission to promote equitable economic prosperity by supporting, seize, and reinvesting in communities most impacted by the war on drugs. And we all know to achieve our mission, we must take steps to address poverty, drug-related convictions, underemployment, unemployment, and advance equity in all communities, particularly DIAs. We've done this by listening and engaging throughout the community and applying our own research and assessment. We have identified, as already mentioned to this committee once before, and our broader council, 3 priority areas for our work. Each of our priority areas focus on the people and places facing the greatest disparities and contributions to our overall effort, again, to address poverty, drug-related convictions, underemployed, and unemployed. And I just to unpack underemployed, we are referring to individuals who are just as impacted, but having a difficult time finding jobs, okay? So within our priority areas, within Reimagine, Revitalize, Community Reinvestment, we will focus a great deal on economic development, with an emphasis on infrastructure and workforce development, reentry programs, and lastly, youth initiatives. It probably might help if I opened up my screen so I can see where you all are and I'm not rushing ahead. All right. In terms of our funding, and I think that's what the world is wanting to know, where is the money? Where is the money? And I'm happy that everyone is excited about the money. The funding will be based on global funding, totaling $21.6 million for a period of 3 years. Real simple math, that's $7.2 million per year per region. We have defined regions as the DIAs that's listed on your screen: Bridgeport, Hartford, New Haven. We have a combo between Norwich and New London, Stamford, and Waterbury. One might ask, well, why those particular areas? Why not the entire state? Why not every single community? While we are privy to, resources and we understand the impacts the war on drugs have had on DIAs throughout this entire state, we are seeking a more strategic funding and targeted approach for greater impact. And so we have identified some of our larger DIAs throughout the state to pilot our program. Next slide. So, as you all know, I reported out in January that our staff, alongside this committee, have been working on a request for proposal for our grant managers. And I have to say, it's a 2-step process, right? We're creating or establishing the RFP for grant managers, and then shortly after we have identified eligible and approved grant managers, we will then work alongside grant managers to draft an RFP for eligible community-based organizations to respond to those requests for proposals. But today, I will explicitly provide you with an update on request for proposals for grant managers. So just really quickly, a quick summary. I just want to share with you the summary for grant managers. The SEC, we're seeking proposals will seek proposals to identify qualified grant managers to assist in identifying CBOs that can apply for SEC reinvestment funds. Grant managers will also provide program oversight and contract manager services. The SEC will hire, again, 6 grant managers who will help to facilitate funds in the 6 regions that I've shared with you on my first slide. And the grant managers, will be paid up to $120,000 each in administrative costs for this particular project. The RFP is expected to be released mid-June of 2025, of which we are working diligently to ensure that all of our procurement processes are adhered to and that we have a system in place to manage that process. So we anticipate the release of the RFP mid-June of this year. Successful applicants will be nonprofit grant-making entities with 5 or more years of grant management service or experience rather, and located in Connecticut with demonstrated experience and an ability to work with diverse groups within disproportionately impacted areas. All of the details, once we have combed through the final copy of the RFP, will be shared with this committee first. Upon the approval of this committee, just kind of looking through, we will then share it with the larger council. I use approval loosely in this case. The state of Connecticut, they have a pretty clear standard template for requests for proposals, but I do want our board, our council, to be well aware on what's required, what's outlined in the RFP. Madam Chair, I'm just going to pause a second should any of the members of the committee have any questions regarding the summary of the RFP.
Thank you. If anyone has questions, feel free to raise your hand or come off mute.
Cool. All right.
I believe
Sorry,
Councilman Hawkins.
Oh, Andrea?
Thank you. Yes, I have a quick question about, will these guidelines be made available on the website? Because I know we're getting some questions about the program and who's going to qualify and all that. Is that something we plan to publish? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I'm glad through you, Madam Chair, I'm glad that you asked that question. We literally just had a meeting with our strategic communications vendor, Maria Miranda, to begin combing through a frequently asked document that will live on our website so that, you know, the broader community, prospective grant managers can at least start to, you know, understand where we're going, what's expected, so that in any case that they're interested in pursuing this opportunity, they know exactly what's required of them. So yes, there will be an FAQ document available. Cool. I don't see anybody else. Next slide. All right, so this is a really important area for all of us, program oversight and contract manager services. So I'll quickly just kind of talk through the 2 major areas within this section of the RFP. The oversight and compliance, the grant managers will be responsible for monitoring grants to ensure alignment with grant objectives as well as regulatory compliance. We're seeking and requiring these folks to conduct regular check-ins, site visits, and progress assessments with funded organizations. Those are our community-based organizations, and maintain a compliance rate of 95% or higher for our financial quarterly check-ins with the SEC. Our financial performance reporting, we want folks to maintain an accurate financial record and ensure timely submission, address compliance issues, and collaborate with funded organizations to create corrective action plans and also promptly notifying the SEC of any compliance issues. Grant managers will also be responsible for disbursement of timely payments and precise fund allocation. We will work alongside grant managers to analyze and report performance metrics for economic development, reentry, and youth initiatives. And they will also be required to submit performance and financial reports to the Social Equity Council in partnership with our Community Reinvestment and Workforce Development Committee. Lastly, which I think is extremely important, and we heard loud and clear from our inaugural group of grant managers, we needed a standardized reporting system and templates. And so the Social Equity Council, we will have created templates for all reporting. We will assist organizations alongside grant managers in maintaining compliance and accountability through proper reporting. We also heard that many of our inaugural group of grant managers, they said, look, you're requiring these reports, but not all foundation or community foundation with respect to reporting are created equal. Will you create a system by which we are all able to submit information in a proper and timely fashion? And the answer is yes. The SEC is working on a portal that we will train the approved grant managers to use so that, again, we are getting timely reports, reports that are standardized so that we can then synthesize the data, better understand where these folks are. We can course correct or not pay grant managers until we get the proper reporting. And so oversight, compliance is and will be chief among this process. Any questions regarding program oversight and contract manager services? Oh, sorry.
We got one hand up.
Hey team, it's Kyle.
Hey, Kyle.
Can you talk more about the compliance rate and how that's measured? And why not just make it 100%?
We can definitely make it 100%. There is no rhyme or reason for the 95 versus 100% or higher. We will have a rubric and metric in terms of compliance that's being driven from our state procurement process and just standards. But Madi, is there anything that I'm missing out on the compliance side, or Christina, regarding this particular section within the RFP?
Not that I'm aware of.
Good.
No, I mean, I would just add, in terms of financial reporting, they'll be required to submit monthly reports, which is aligned with OPM standards, given the award amount that they'll be receiving. So they'll report monthly in terms of finances, and then quarterly in terms of programmatic milestones. I think that's all that I could add right now.
Thank you.
And Kyle, we're definitely open to any recommendations or best practices that DECD might have that we can incorporate in this process as well. But for the most part, that is where we are.
And I think I'll clarify if I may, Executive Director Mickey.
Please.
It might appear misleading, the 95% for the quarterly check-ins. It's not 95% with the metrics or the goals or overall compliance. They'll be required to check in with the SEC, and as we know, meetings get canceled, they get postponed. So it's really just requiring that they constantly check in with us to make sure we're all in alignment. But we can definitely make that 100%. Everything else in terms of reporting the numbers and the programmatic reports is definitely 100% compliance.
And, for what it's worth, and I think it's important that the council is aware, and also um, this committee, many of the organizations that participate or rather receive state funding are subject to a single file audit. And there are several entities that are currently undergoing or have gone through an audit, right? And one of the things that we have to be extremely proactive on as the council is that we are involved from start to end. From start to the middle to the end in terms of where our dollars are going, how they are being spent. And we're not in this for I gotcha, but we are in this to support, but also hold the entities that receive state funding accountable, and that transparency is at the core of what we're doing and who we are. So this, to me, from my perspective, you'll continue to hear me say this over and over and over again. So act like you ain't never heard it before. I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to also say it during our regular in-person council meeting in a couple weeks, the same thing. So thanks for asking that question. Next slide. And this is the final slide. I'm not going to get too wonky on you in terms of the logic model for the R2 program. I'm sure Cesar and Jennifer and Vera could probably also elaborate as well. But the SEC's outcomes, of which we have everything laid out, and we will share that again with the committee, but the outcomes aim to contribute to the council's strategic approach to address poverty, drug-related convictions, again, underemployed and unemployed, and advance equity in communities most impacted by the war on drugs, and that they are prosperous and thriving. Lastly, and I think this is important, we acknowledge that the SEC, we're not the only one, contributor within this larger ecosystem, and we're striving to be a supporting force, of the articulated outcomes that we will continue to share with you. So that concludes my update on the reinvestment portion of this meeting. And I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair, for any additional questions that folks didn't have at the outset.
Thank you so much. Any additional questions? Well, folks, thanks. I just want to clarify. So in terms of next steps, you'll share the updated RFP with us, likely via email, because we don't have a meeting of this committee until next quarter, I believe. And then it'll be shared with the full council as well for review. I just want to clarify, my understanding is that does not need to be voted on.
Nope.
Before we send it out. Okay, great.
Yep. But for me, I want to over communicate so that the council, once we go full steam ahead, because we're going to have to communicate this out, writ large to the entire world, if you would. And so I want to make sure our first line of defense, our council members, you all have a strategic communications document, frequently asked questions, all of the above, because naturally, we're human, we're going to go back to what we knew, right? And so a lot of the questions will be based off of the inaugural version of this program. And so we always want to keep people focused on the new revised version of our reinvestment efforts.
Awesome. Thank you. Council members, any other questions before we move on to the next agenda item? Okay. Thank you. So we'll segue back into workforce development update.
Awesome. And glad to have you here, Mr. Barrett, representing OWS, doing some great work over there. Next slide. Again, likewise with our workforce, or similar to our reinvestment workforce development approach, also has key activities, assumptions, all of the above. This is the same slide from our strategic plan in terms of how our work is being guided by the strategic plan. And again, we are ahead in all three areas. Next slide. So, one of the things that is always really interesting is, we move from, you read the statute, and some of us, we've read the statute over and over and over again. And I always got to remind folks the statute really just provides us with tracks to run on, and then we have to color it in and make it make sense within the statutory obligation or requirements. And so I just kind of want to clarify the Social Equity Council's educational opportunities and workforce development efforts. We have three very clear goals that we are seeking to achieve, and I just want to read them really quickly. Our first goal is to support social equity entrepreneurs. What does that mean? We want to support with application process by offering educational and technical assistance, for example, business planning, bookkeeping, etc. Grant opportunities, workforce and equity plan development, and address barriers to success. Our next goal is, creating access and sustainable training pathways. I've been working with so many of our partners to reimagine, our curated educational program that essentially will prepare individuals, particularly those from DIAs, those from disproportionately impacted areas, for careers in the cannabis industry and beyond, emphasizing sustainable wages and growth opportunities by leveraging our industry partners and expertise, as well as the Connecticut college system, both public and private. Lastly, we want to align with our equity goals. And one might say, well, isn't this all about equity? It is, but I think to dive a bit deeper, we are seeking to partner with employers and existing networks. The SEC will help to stimulate a workforce outside of the cannabis industry, as already mentioned in Goal 2, reduce disparities by creating inclusive workforce opportunities for skilled trade careers, such as electricians, plumbers, HVAC, you name it, and other careers. While intended to support the cannabis industry, which we've been charged to do, these careers can offer opportunities to service other industries and business sectors. Next slide. And then last but not least, this is the final slide, folks. We are, and I'm excited about this because we are in the process of drafting a pilot program of which we will call the Social Equity Resource Hub. I would be remiss if I did not just say it out loud. We put the cart before the horse with respect to supporting our social equity individuals and our social equity entrepreneurs during the first 2 years of this program, right? And so what we're doing internally is really taking a hard look at all of our social equity entrepreneurs. And depending on where they are, we want to better ascertain the type of support needed to help them be a bit more successful in the industry. And so this support for social equity entrepreneurs will include support with application, offering educational and technical assistance, grant opportunities. And let me just pause there a second. These grant opportunities will have some eligibility requirements. It will not be an exhaustive fund where folks can just come and just get money and just make it rain. No, that's not what this is about. We will take a hard look at each phase of the application process, that is provisional and final licensure, and we want to assess our social equity entrepreneurs to see where are these pain points? How can we be of better assistance to you as you continue to move throughout the industry? We recognize as employees of the Social Equity Council, there are some things we can do in part to help these folks to be better businessmen and women in this space. And we know that the industry in Connecticut is very, very young. So there are a lot of pain points. And we continue to identify those pain points, but we want to do so by partnering with, I call them incubators, but organizations who have the skill sets of assisting stand-up or startup businesses with, business writing, bookkeeping, accounting, legal support at no cost to the social equity entrepreneurs. So the team is currently developing, again, multi-grant opportunities, which will include funding to address everything that I just mentioned. So stay tuned. Our goal is to launch this pilot program by the end of this fiscal year. We're looking at a pretty substantial amount of funding for this pilot program. Again, we will have to work through our finance committee first so that we can allow them to lay their eyes on it and make it make sense. But I think this is in part a part of our strategic plan and our social equity entrepreneur experience with the SEC. That, for the most part, folks, concludes my official updates, and I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. I know Councilwoman Hawkins has her hand up, so I'll turn it over to her.
Sure.
Thank you. So I was sitting here thinking for a second or for a couple minutes, why wouldn't we just give that money to another organization that does similar work to that, like, for example, Reset? And then the more I thought about it, and I think about the fact that the federal government has, kind of put a war on DEI, I think by giving that money to those organizations, it puts their federal funding at risk. So I'm vocalizing that because other people might also.
No, it's a good point. Yeah.
Thinking like, why aren't we just giving the money to someone else that does this already for small businesses? I can think of a number of organizations, but I do think that it places them at risk. And I love the point that you made at the beginning, Director McGee, that this money comes in from sales in our own state. It's money that we generate here in the state, and we can sort of allocate it differently. But I just wanted to sort of verbally make that connection between, I like this idea, just knowing what's going on. I think if things change by some miracle, then something we should definitely look at. But I think for now, that seems to make good sense from my seat. So just wanted to say that out loud.
No, you're on par. I didn't want to say the names of the businesses that we will be working with because I want to make sure I am being fair to everybody. But we are in communication with multiple entities that provide, this is their sweet spot. Like we do not have the human capacity at the moment as the council to provide direct service or expertise in these areas. So we will establish PSAs with these entities, establish a referral process because we do want to make sure these businesses have some skin in the game and they're committed to this resource. So yes, you are definitely on par with where we're going internally in terms of this resource. Madam Chair, I do have a cheat. Like I just want to do some shameless plugs. Just one more, if you're okay. We do have office hours, folks. Come on and visit. And our next regular council meeting, this is in person, folks. So govern yourselves accordingly, as they will say in the church. It is Tuesday, May 6th at 10 a.m. And we will be at Deep, which is at 79 Elm Street right here in Hartford. Stay tuned. We'll send you all parking, logistics, all of that good stuff. We continue to host our monthly social equity entrepreneur virtual roundtables. I encourage you all to come. Our next one is Monday, April 21st. And again, I'll send this out as a follow-up. April 21st from noon to 1. And then Wednesday, April 23rd from 6 to 7. Again, I will share this information in email along with the links so that you all can just pop in. I don't expect you to speak, but just to kind of hear it in the background, what many of these business owners are saying, I think it might do your heart well. You'll see these folks coming out, they're sharing their minds, and they're letting us know how they feel, and we appreciate it because it's informing a lot of the services that we are looking to provide to many of these folks. I promise you, that's it.
Excellent. I think Director McGee may have jumped into the good of the order comments, but any outstanding questions on what was shared today? Okay, well, Director McGee, thank you so much. Very helpful presentations. I like the direction we're taking and approach we're taking. I'm excited for the work to come. And with that, anything else for the good of the order?
Madam Chairwoman, if there's nothing else, I move that we adjourn, and I hope you all enjoy this beautiful day.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Y'all
Councilor
enjoy.
Gaddis. Have a second? All right, thank you.
Second.
Everyone have a wonderful day. Take care.
Bye.